music crafted to make you feel real good. Handpicked just for your pleasure. Classics sounding so good only on SAfm.
Top Billing is back with a bold new chapter and fresh new faces leading the way. Get ready to experience the world of luxury, travel, design and inspiring stories with our dynamic presenters, including Zwazbini Tunzi. They bring their unique style, energy and perspective to every moment. The all-new season of Top Billing premieres on S3 Thursday, the 30th of April at 7 p.m. Repeats Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. on SABC1. Top Billing is back. You don't want to miss it. It's 12 after 6 o'clock. Let's take a look at what is making headlines, at least on the front pages of your national publications. I've got the Business Day in front of me. The Business Day seemingly the only publication that managed to bring in the suspension of the National Commissioner. So they're going with Dimbani takes up baton after Top Cop is suspended. And that, of course, relating to the story we will also be tracking for you this hour, the suspension of the National Police Commissioner. And they say there the police crisis becomes messier with action against National Commissioner Masemola. The Lieutenant General Puleng Dimpane is currently the police CFO, and she has been appointed. The move shifts operational authority, it says, at a time of heightened scrutiny over the police leadership. Taking a look at the front page of the Mail and Guardian, IDC and dodgy BEE deal. That's the story that they're going with, and it's an exclusive story by the Mail and Guardian that basically tracks down this dodgy deal, as it were, within the IDC. Is how they've described it. It's quite an extensive story that they're running on this matter, and it's around how the IDC allegedly breached its own governance and how a powerful executive and a dismissed employee were central players in the funding of this dodgy BEE consortium. So that's a story that you will find on the front page of the Mail and Guardian. On the front page of the Citizen, coalition chaos coming. It's the question that the Citizen is asking this morning, and that's linked, of course, to the upcoming local government elections. And the Citizen there is asking questions about the dispersed and competitive multi-party environment that we find ourselves in. And they've spoken to political analysts who say that coalitions are here to stay and that we should all really start getting used to it. The front page of the Sowetan this morning, I see, there we go, a picture of Lieutenant General Puleng Dimpane. Ramaphosa puts his faith in acting top cop. And then the main picture, though, on the front page of the Sowetan is the derby coming up this weekend. You've got Pirates, you've got Kaizer Chiefs, high stakes Soweto derby. That's the headline. The Sowetan has actually done quite a bit with its front page this morning. And just under that, you're going to find Lerutla skeletons come tumbling down. That's the Ekurhuleni city manager who's been arrested. He's now been unmasked as a man who twice allegedly used money and connections to subvert the law. One of the serious allegations against him in court is how The court has been told he paid a tow truck driver 10,000 rand to remove a body from an accident scene after a fatal crash in 2021. These are just some of the allegations that he's going to have to answer to as the state continues pursuing its case against him. And then on the front page of the Star, it would be unfair to fire Mqunu now, says Ramaphosa. And that, of course, coming out of questions that the president had to take from journalists. And the president saying any formal action or decision regarding the future of suspended police minister Senzo Mqunu will wait until the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry releases its final findings. So that means that Mqunu is not going anywhere anytime soon. That's what you can expect on the front pages of the country's national publications.
Attention all shoppers.
Our supermarket shelves are full of unhealthy food. It's often hard for me to know which foods are good for my family. The information on packaged food is complicated and hard to understand. I wish we had easy-to-understand warning labels on foods high in salt, sugar, and saturated fat. We have the right to know what's in our food. Support front-of-package warning labels on unhealthy packaged foods. Sign the petition on heala.org. That's HEALA.org.
You are listening to the National Briefing with Cathy Mohlahlana.
Well, let's get straight into your weather then for this morning. We have a yellow level 2 warning for severe thunderstorms with strong damaging winds and heavy downpours, leading to localized flooding and damages to susceptible formal, informal settlements and infrastructure over the Free State, the central and western parts of the Northwest, as well as the central and southern parts of the Northern Cape. There are no fire warnings for this morning. Advisories, very cold, wet and windy conditions are expected over the southern parts of the Namakwa district of the Northern Cape, the city of Cape Town, central Karoo, Cape Winelands, western parts of the Overberg districts of the Western Cape from Sunday into Monday. Your weather, Pretoria, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 12, maximum 16. The expected UVB sunburn index is low. Johannesburg, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 11, maximum 15. Vereeniging, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 11, maximum 16. Mbombela, morning fog, otherwise cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 15, maximum 17. In Polokwane, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 13, maximum 19. In Mahikeng, cloudy with isolated showers and thunder showers, minimum 13, maximum 17. In Vryburg, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 11, maximum 18. In Bloemfontein, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 10, maximum 12. In Kimberley, cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 10, maximum 20. In Uppington, partly cloudy with scattered showers and thunder showers, minimum 14, maximum 25. In Cape Town, the weather is fine. Wind light and variable, becoming moderate southerly by the afternoon. Minimum 14, maximum 29. The expected UVB sunburn index is very high. In George, fine. The wind light and variable, becoming moderate easterly by the afternoon. Minimum 13, maximum 25. In Gqeberha, partly cloudy. Wind moderate to fresh easterly to northeasterly. Minimum 14, maximum 25. East London, partly cloudy with isolated thunder showers. Wind fresh to strong northeasterly, minimum 14, maximum 25. In Durban, cloudy with isolated showers and rain. Wind moderate to fresh northerly to northeasterly, spreading, reaching strong at times, minimum 18, maximum 23. The expected UVB sunburn index is low. In Richards Bay, it's cloudy with isolated showers and rain. The wind moderate to fresh easterly to southeasterly, becoming northerly to northeasterly from the late morning. Minimum 16, maximum 24. And in Pietermaritzburg, morning fog, Otherwise, cloudy with isolated showers and rain. Minimum 9, maximum 21.
Wherever you are in the world, SAfm 104 to 107 is accessible. We're also streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at SAfmRadio. We acknowledge and appreciate everyone tuning in and watching our streams. Stay with SAfm 104 to 107 as we bring you commission live, breaking stories, and thought-provoking lectures. SAfm, leading the conversations that move us. The Global Briefing on SAfm.
Well, let's get into the global briefing 22 after 6 o'clock. The U.S. Navy Secretary has walked out mid-crisis. Russia looks set to be invited back into the G20 at the highest level. And with the Strait of Hormuz closed, more than a fifth of global trade is now squeezing through a single East Asian choke point. Joining us for more on this story is Dr. Joan Swart, a researcher in military science at the University of Stellenbosch Military Academy. Dr. Swart, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. Firstly, the U.S. is in the middle of a crisis. American forces are actively being deployed. What does John Pellen's departure signal about what is happening within the security apparatus of the U.S. right now?
Yeah, good morning, Cathy, and thank you for having me. As we look at all these resignations, and by the way, I read yesterday, I haven't confirmed it yet, but that he was actually dismissed by Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, calling himself the Secretary of War of the U.S. So it's less about this one resignation, and it's more about, as you've been referring to, about a defense system that's become under pressure during an active confrontation. So as you said, John Pellen, the U.S. Navy Secretary, has left his post, or he's been dismissed. And the reports are saying that Hegseth fired him because of him telling troops not to obey illegal orders. And he will be replaced by Hang Chao. The reasons given or cited were poor progress on shipbuilding, but there's more of a conflict with the Pentagon leadership and a possible ethics violation. And as I said, he's not the first. Joe Kent was the other high person one. He resigned as National Director of Counterterrorism a week or two ago, stating that he couldn't work with the decisions, he couldn't agree with the decisions that the US government and military is making regarding this conflict. And then there's been people high up in the military like Randy George, Rodney Hodd, and William Green as well. So if we look at how to interpret it, it's important to centralize control in a war like this. So if you have resignations or dismissals like that, it shows to a pattern of leadership consolidation under Trump. So they are not happy with, and they're not tolerating any disagreements in their rank. They prefer loyalty and alignment, therefore, over institutional continuity. And what's important of Pellen, especially, is that he's, as you said, from the Navy, and the naval power is the center of the operations right now. It's very critical in the Strait of Hormuz tensions and in deterrence versus Iran. They have not been very successful simply because Iran has got extremely good precision standoff missiles, which means that they can keep Navy ships. And we've seen with the carrier groups that they have to stay about 500 miles or something drifting away from the Strait of Hormuz
Sure.
and from Iran's territory.
Joan, when it comes to Russia and the G20, are we likely to see
Yes.
President Putin walking Miami?
I don't know. Russia says that it received an invitation to join the 2026 G20 summit in Miami. I haven't seen any confirmation from the US, and it's also not clear who would then attend, Putin or anybody, a lower level delegation. But the context is that Russia has been isolated since the Ukraine war, as we know. And the G20 has been used as sort of a contested platform over Russia's participation and other pressure points that the West wants to put onto countries, including South Africa. As you know, we haven't been, or we've been disinvited or not been invited as well. So in terms of the narratives by Russia, they of course looking to renew or regain their diplomatic legitimacy, and they want to show that they're not isolated and that they're still a global power, which of course they are, with all the multipolar realignments going on with BRICS and so on, and Russia actually, due to all of this, moving closer to China, and that includes the Iran war and the Russia-Ukraine war and all of the sanctions put on Russia. So they've been moving closer and closer to China to form a stronger sort of leading the global south, if you will.
Look, I wonder, Dr. Joan, I mean, if Russia can make it to the G20, surely South Africa should, surely, or maybe we can go as Russia's plus one. And then just to wrap it up, just to wrap it up,
Yes.
the Strait of Hormuz is putting a lot of pressure on the Strait of Malacca. Speak to us a bit about that. Very little known about the Strait of Malacca, at least not in the context of this global conflict currently.
Yeah. So the Strait of Malacca, just for your listeners, it connects the Indian Ocean to the Pacific Ocean. It's a very narrow strait, so it's straddled by Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore. So it's the strait is entirely in their territorial waters, which doesn't mean that they can control it in terms of law, but there's no real way to enforce that law, as we are seeing now in the Strait of Hormuz. So it's setting a precedent for other players to close other straits as well. And this strait carries around 25 to 30% of the global trade. And it's very critical for China, again, for Japan and South Korea. So China is watching this very, very closely. They are worried. They see Hormuz as a warning signal. And they are asking themselves, and the other Asian states as well, what will happen if a similar disruption happens in the strait? The US and Indonesia has signed a partnership, a defense deal now recently, which increases the risk and the sort of the signals that something may happen, because as we know, the US sees China actually as their main rival. So they set themselves a little bit back in this war with Iran. I think they thought that it would go quickly, perhaps 72 hours, but most certainly not longer than 2 to 3 weeks. And they've misjudged completely. And they've expended a lot of their munitions as well, missiles, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dr. Joan Swart, let me thank you for your time, researcher in military science at the University of Stellenbosch. You're listening to the National Briefing, and Musa standing by with your latest headlines. And good morning.
Good morning. Thanks, Cathy. In the headlines, a suspect has been killed and another wounded in a shootout with police in Rabi region, Johannesburg. Police say the suspects attempted to rob a business in Midrand last night. Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police has expressed confidence in the newly appointed Acting National Police Commissioner, Puleng Dimpane. Her appointment follows the placement of Fani Masimula on precautionary suspension pending the outcome of his case. And 9 law enforcement officers are due to appear in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today. They were arrested across Gauteng on Wednesday for allegedly extorting money from people during an unlawful search at a Crown Mines warehouse. I'll have details on these and other stories at 7.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Some trouble coming out of Soweto. A lot of pressure. Klipstraat Valley up to the Circle and then down Soweto Highway. Looks like motorists for some reason are avoiding that N17. The N17 from the Circle out towards the M1 all clogged up. Keep you up to date with that. But if you're around the top end of Soweto Circle area, some heavy backlogging and diversions going on there. The Mike 1, M2 routes heavy getting through Crown in towards Braamfontein. The N3 backlogging quite heavily between Elands and Van Buren Road this morning. And there's been a crash on the M1 South at New Road coming down from SAMRAM. That is already starting to backlog. Some pressure going out of Durban up towards Pietermaritzburg. There's some lane closure at Key Ridge, just out from Shongweni as you get up sort of through that M13 on ramp. Only way to Clift out, that is a heavy one this morning. N2 North already queuing through the construction just north of Spaghetti Junction and your way to Westwood Mall and the Kwamashu Highway out of Kwamashu heavy towards the N2. Cape Town fairly busy. An earlier crash on the N2 inbound by the airport has been cleared. But the N2 from Khayelitsha just all the way to Mowbray Main. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Morning, Zai Khan. The build-up to the Soweto derby seemed to have gone up a notch yesterday. Kaizer Chiefs coach is now saying that he's flattered by the calls for him to be retained.
Yes, Kathy. But you know, Chiefs fans, they don't just want flattered, okay? They want results. And I think he's beginning to pick up on that as they head into the big derby weekend. Now, as much as the Amakhosi are unbeaten in 6 matches, a run that has reignited belief ahead of this weekend's derby against Orlando Pirates, Ben Yusuf, the co-coach, saying their 3-0 defeat in the previous derby came at the wrong time, and he knows this now is a very different Chiefs side. Let's hear from him.
I have to say thank you for him. I have to say thank you for everyone who most trust us and we give us the chance to continue to lead the team. I think it's not easy to give us this opportunity. I think also there have been a lot of criticism for us, and always our answer it was to continue to work and believe the result that answer about us. We are a professional coach. We are under contract. We have to continue our contract under the last moment of this last day of the season, and then the board will decide. It's not us to decide.
And you can catch the derby live on SABC Sport. Elsewhere, Barcelona teenager Lamine Yamal has been ruled out for the rest of the season with a hamstring injury after scoring the winner in their 1-0 victory over Celta Vigo. The 18-year-old is expected to recover in time for Spain's World Cup campaign in June, but will miss next month's El Clasico. Rugby news, Springbok captain Siya Kolisi is back. He's been named on the bench for the Sharks clash against Edinburgh, marking his 50th appearance for the Durban side after recovering from a calf injury. The Sharks are still chasing a playoff spot, but have been forced into a midfield reshuffle with Andre Esterhuizen moving to outside centre and Ethan Hooker ruled out with a shoulder injury. Golf Bryson DeChambeau says talks over his live golf future are ongoing, but remains confident a new deal will be reached. The two-time major winner's current contract runs until the end of the 2026 season, amid growing questions over the league's long-term stability. And finally, tennis world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka powering into the next round of the Madrid Open, extending her winning streak to 13 matches despite a shaky start. Iga Swiatek also progressed comfortably, while Hungary's Anna Bonda caused an upset, knocking out the 7th seed Elina Svitolina. That's your sport. We'll serve it up some more on the national briefing at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
Ndauleng, a very good morning to you. Let's start off with the International Energy Agency. That institution is now also sounding the alarm over renewed risk at the Strait of Hormuz closure.
Morning, Cathy. Now, the agency has warned that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz could ultimately force energy rationing if disruptions persist. Around 13 million barrels of oil per day remain offline, tightening global supply and raising the risk of fuel shortages, particularly in Europe, which remains heavily dependent on Middle Eastern refining flows. The IEA's executive director, Fatia Barol, has described the situation as the most severe energy security threat in history, underscoring how rapidly geopolitics is feeding into energy markets. While emergency stock releases are helping to stabilize prices in the short term, they are not seen as a lasting solution. The reopening of Hormuz is being viewed as critical to restoring balance and preventing deeper global economic fallout. Now, we've already started seeing the economic spillover effects in major oil importing economies, including Japan, where inflation ticked higher in March as rising energy risks filter through into price dynamics. Now, consumer prices in the world's fourth largest economy rose 1.5% as elevated oil prices begin to bite, although this remains below the Bank of Japan's 2% target. Similar to South Africa, authorities in Japan have stepped in to cushion households through fuel subsidies and price caps aimed at limiting the impact of higher imported energy costs. However, with energy risks still elevated, analysts warn inflation could trend higher later in the year if crude prices remain elevated and subsidies are not expanded. Attention in Tokyo now shifts to the central bank's next meeting, scheduled for next week, with expectations largely for a pause in interest rates. Now, in markets, traders are weighing the latest inflation print alongside firmer oil prices and renewed tensions around the Strait of Hormuz. Asian equities are mostly in the red this morning, reflecting the uncertainty. Overnight, both the JSE and US markets closed in negative territory as hopes faded for a quick resolution to the Iran conflict. The rand also coming under pressure on the back of that, with the local unit now trading at 16.65 to the dollar, 22.41 to the pound, and 19.44 to the euro. That's your market brief this hour. I'll be back with more at 7:30. I'm Ndauleng Lechela for the National Briefing.
Africa in Focus with Advocate Sipho Mantula on SAFM.
Advocate Mantula, good morning. Of course, it seems the race to replace Antonio Guterres, the current UN chief, is well underway.
Refreshing morning, Cathy and Jumbo Africa, to the listeners. Indeed, Cathy, we know that there is a contestation for the UN Secretary General position. So we might say it is interviews or auditions before the council. The former president of Senegal, Macky Sall, has urged that peace diplomacy will be his Secretary General focus should he be appointed. Remember, he was endorsed by Burundi, not Senegal, not by the AU. But it was Burundi that put his name forward. He was questioning about the current geopolitical conflict about the US, Israel, Iran, and he said that he will call for continued diplomacy. He will still insist on the Islamabad roadmap. You remember the Pakistan mediation that is going on, and he said that we don't need more bombs, we don't need missiles, we need peace. That is his argument or maybe submission before the UN team. And why I'm not focusing on other candidates is because this is an African focus, Cathy. We know that we might have a Chile former president also, and one of two women and one from three Latin America. So you have people who are contesting for this position, coming from Kofi Annan, coming from Boutros Ghali. We might be having an African Secretary General at this time. Probably we will see what will happen, Cathy, once the recommendations goes to the General Assembly. It comes from Security Council panel, it has to go to the General Assembly.
Advocate Mantula, this next story, of course, it's just one of those that it has gone on for too long. The matter around the remains of the former Zambian president, Edgar Lungu. Where are we now?
This has taken so long. It's almost 10 months. I think with Tula Caesar, we used to touch on it almost every month. Sometimes it will subside. What is happening in the High Court yesterday blocked the repatriation. Remember, this week we also saw the marathon coming from Mulelo Kabesha, the AG of Zambia. And just yesterday, the family also pushed an agent application to the court. Hence, the matter will remain until the 21st of May, Cathy. The 5th of June, it will be almost a year since this debacle of the former president, Edgar Lungu family, as well as the government of Zambia, about where must he be buried. And remember, this happened because of the rival between Edgar Lungu and Hichileme since he lost elections in 2021. The issue of former president coming to medical attention in South Africa and later made this unfortunate situation of dying here in South Africa. And now you have this tussle that has been going on. So, like I said, we'll be waiting for May 21 next month also. What will be the outcome of this? Orders that have been coming from the High Court in Tshwane.
Let's talk about the International Relations Minister, Ronald Lamola. He is with the SADC partners.
No, Cathy, remember we are taking chairpersonship in August and now we are interim chair. Now there has been a high-level meeting of interdepartmental workshop, but also having the partners from Gaborone, having the public and private communities, developmental finance institution, now to support South Africa's priorities for its chairpersonship between 2026 and 2026 to 2027, because remember, we abruptly took from Madagascar and we became the chair. So this meeting of minds is ending today. This high-level workshop is ending today, and it's expected that the Minister of DIRCOM, Ronald Lamola, will deliver a closing remarks. An important aspect is that SADC must be people to people. Trade must be within the partners. Remember when you talk about China and Mozambique earlier this week, I kept on insisting, let's look within. SADC news must affect the SADC citizens. It's how important it is. Diplomacy also very important. Do we even know the SADC 2050? Do we know the frontline states? Do we know the role of SADC? How did it play in the liberation struggle of this country if we are celebrating freedom in this country? So it's very important to know that aspect. Even if we want to go at high level, must always remain at community level.
And then looking at Tanzania, there was, of course, lots of questions of violence during the election, and now some very credible data coming out.
Remember yesterday we lead with this story, Cathy, saying that there will be a report being given to the president that is led by the interim Chief Justice, the former Chief Justice, Mohammed Chande Othman. Now, the report indicates 518 people have died in those post-electoral elections. It raises that who was responsible. It's not very clear because there's a defense here of the security apparatus. The opposition are calling this as a cover-up now of this report. They are also accusing the AI to have manipulated images. So you see, technology against security affects investigations where they are seeing the images and the manipulations. But overall, the recommended is to say there's a need to have a day of national mourning. There is a need to give the victims free medical care. There must be a new constitution by 2028, and those who are accountable have to face the law. But like I said to you, it doesn't come out clear It says 21 children, 16 officers were among the dead, 2,000 people injured. But there are many numbers that come from human rights bodies, Katie. And let's not belabor this point. The report has been given to President Samia Suluhu. It's her and the cabinet and the parliament to act upon it.
Let's take a look then on the 24th of April, 1993.
It will have been 33 years since the passing of the president of ANC, Oliver O.R. Reginald Tambo. Let's give him a clip and a listen what Oliver Tambo said about the 70s, about where we must be heading as a democratic South Africa.
The ceiling of repression was broken in the early 70s, in part as a result of the actions by the ANC. For example, the clashes in what was then Rhodesia, in Wanki, where the ANC was involved together with Zimbabwean liberation forces. That opened the gates, and the people began to come out more boldly. This was in 1967, 68. So during the early 70s, there was a growing build-up, even within South Africa, because people had become more defiant. The enemy could not contain the determination of the people anymore. And so then you then began to get the mood of resistance and defiance, which the ANC had inculcated during the 50s.
Cathy, here you hear the former president and the late president of the ANC just explaining the role of the ANC and the pressure that they were put at international front. Remember, he was the ANC exiled president and ambassador who was coordinating missions in Tanzania, in Zambia, opening ANC missions in Egypt, Ghana, Morocco, and London. But important about OR is that coming back in the late 90s, 91, 92, 93, he passed away. We could not see the freedom, the fruits of the freedom that we'll be celebrating on Monday. We are still back, Katie. The listeners must know on Monday on Extended Africa in Focus. Africa cannot stop with news, Katie. 55 member states and the African diaspora will always be giving them the news of the continent, context, clarity, and true vision. Asante sana, Katie. SAFM leading the true vision.
When you listen to me, I feel important. When you hug me, I feel safe. When you talk with me, I learn.
Your love and attention helps your child grow strong and confident. Listen, comfort, and connect with him, because every child deserves to feel seen, heard, and loved.
Visit holdmyhand.org.za.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Looks like a reasonably big crash coming out of Soweto this morning on the N17. So if you're coming up Killer Road, Klipsray Valley through the circle, you may just sort of divert down Soweto Highway instead of going across. I don't know whether the police have closed that, but there's a lot of backlogging going on around Soweto Circle and a big backlog north of that on the N17 into that crash towards the N1 Highway. It's one of those heavy mornings on the run up through Dipcliffe Interchange. It's a breakdown. In fact, there are two stationary vehicles this morning just before you get into Dipcliffe. So coming from Eldos and Devlin, that's all very slow. Crash on the N3 north at Van Buren, causing some extra trouble for motorists coming up from the Elands interchange side. And if you're on the run out of Pretoria to Joburg, normally we say, hey, it's easy Friday, but not today. It's a crash at New Road, and that's got a traffic. You're already back towards SAMRadio Road and looking particularly heavy on that run through Midrand today. A bit of traffic congestion going out of Durban on your way towards Cliffdale, just around that sort of Key Ridge area. There was at least a lane closure a little bit earlier. It looks to be holding that traffic up quite slow there. N2 North from the M7 up through Westwood Mall is already queuing up. And if you're heading into Cape Town's Mowbray area, a collision on Klipfontein Road at Milner causing a pushback into Athlone. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Moro, Moni, Dumela, Bonjour, Habari. You arrived in South Africa to build something better. New place, new challenges, new responsibilities. Now you can with the Mama Money bank account. Sign up easily using any passport or asylum document. Get paid into your own account, up to 100,000 a month. You can send money home from wherever you are, because this is more than money. It's progress. Buy your Mama Money card today at Pick n Pay or a Mama Money agent. Mama Money, now you can.
Call SAFM now on 086 000 2032.
It's 6:51. You're listening to the National Briefing. In a moment, we'll bring in the KZN Premier on the protests that have been taking place in his province, in particular in Durban's CBD. Before we get to that, let me quickly go to the phone lines. Bonakele, you're in Kailicha. Good morning.
A very good morning. First time talking to you in the early hours of the day. Look,
Welcome.
I'm going to be quick. I want to talk about the former president of Zambia, Edgar Lungu. It's almost a year he has not been buried. The thing that I would like to say, their family does not love and respect the old man. That's all. Irrespective of issues they had with the state, but it should have been buried long time ago now. It's just that.
But
I don't know whether they wanted to gain something or not.
How are you blaming the family when the family is saying this man did not want to be buried in Zambia? Surely the wishes of the deceased must equally be respected.
I mean, are you really going to stick on that? The fact that because so-and-so said that, I mean, it's no longer here. It's no longer here. I mean, this fighting, how long it's going to take? That's why I'm saying the family of this former president does not love and respect him. I mean, almost a year you don't bury someone because this is what he said. Nah, come on.
Okay. Bonakele, we'll leave it there.
Have a nice one.
I guess the family will argue around. There was tension between these two men. They did not get along. And that also very much seems to be contributing to the behavior that we are seeing.
Hi, Cathy, Willie here in Kuma. Cathy, do you think that the newly appointed national commissioner, is going to deliver in that position? Whilst she was there when these irregularities took place in the Department of Finance, you see. These things happened under her nose as a procurement in procurement department. So I doubt it. She's not fit for that particular position. Thanks, Willia in Kuma.
All right, you're listening to the National Briefing. Let's move on to this story now. Concerns about intensifying protests in Durban's CBD. There are also fears that this tension could spread into wider unrest beyond just the borders of KZN. Let's bring in the KwaZulu-Natal Premier, Thamsanqa Ntuli. Mr. Ntuli, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Firstly, I want to know, how are you as government characterizing these protests?
Well, good morning, Cathy, and to your listeners at home, and thank you for having me. It's not a new, in fact, a march in the area of KwaZulu-Natal regarding the issue of undocumented foreign nationals. And it has never had a confrontation to an extent or of the current one, wherein there were incidents which took place, which were unfortunate from both sides. Hence, we as government made a call that whatever is being actually done is important that we abide with the rule of law, calling for calm from both sides. But the truth of the matter is that the people of this province are quite very worried about the extent of the influx of the undocumented foreign nationals, because the civil organizations there, they are not actually saying they don't want foreign nationals, but they are worried about the influx of the undocumented foreign nationals and illegal activities thereafter that are taking place, in particular around the issue of the economy. As you would have seen, that some of the issues which are showing their frustration as the community of KwaZulu-Natal because of this influx, that some will even go to the spaza shops and make some statements that spaza shops must be returned back to the South Africans.
So
I think,
yeah,
yes,
Premium Ntuli, just on that idea that the protest is not against foreigners in general, I want to refer you to some of the groups, one of them calling themselves Concerned Citizens and the other Voters of South Africa. These are all building up towards a 4th May national shutdown, as they're calling for it. But they have publicly said that they don't want the presence of millions of foreigners in the country, whether documented or not. Some of these protesters are holding up placards that read, "We are xenophobic," that read, "We want all foreigners, documented or not, out of the country as a matter of urgency."
Well, that will be unfortunate. And unfortunately, I have not been exposed to such reports or information currently, because I only know the ones that have been doing it in a way which, to me, was a demonstration of frustration as citizen, like the likes of the March and March, wherein we even engaged with them. We had a very good conversation. We had even a round table. We had an agreement that there was a need of round table so that we bring together the sectors that have a role over the undocumented foreign nationals, so that we'll agree on the way forward. They've never been demonstrated because they were categorical that they are not xenophobic, but the frustration they have was the issue of the undocumented foreign nationals. But
sorry, Premier, is March and March not the same group that went on a so-called cleanup campaign in Durban CBD, and some of their members started targeting foreign nationals?
Well, in my understanding, though they are part of these demonstrations, but that is their position. But having said that, Cathy, we spoke with the provincial commissioner, agreeing that there is a need of meeting the leaders who are seen to be at the lead of these demonstrations, so that we get to understand also their understanding, so that whatever is being done is within the parameters of the law, and it does not encourage people who will be not for the good purpose of demonstrating frustration, but people who will want to come and destroy the very same demonstration which they have been doing without any report of incidents of conflicts and confrontation. Because that is what we are complaining about, that in fact conflicts, it creates instability, and instability, it chases away investors. Hence, it is important that even if the frustration, using their right to demonstrate their frustration, that must be within the parameters of the law. That's point number one. Number two, there must be no confrontation, and there must be no conflict existing.
The KZN Premier, Thamsanqa Ntuli, let me thank you for your time this morning. And that's on the protests that have rocked parts of Durban's CBD. It's 7 o'clock, time for your latest news update, and Musa is standing by.
OUTsurance is in the business of saving you money on your car insurance premium. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
Thanks, Cathy. In our top stories, a suspect killed in Rabi Ridge police shootout and police committee expresses confidence in new acting commissioner. Good morning. A suspect has been killed and another wounded in a shootout with police in Rabi Ridge, Johannesburg. Police say the suspects attempted to rob a business in Midrand last night. The suspects sped off when officers arrived. Gauteng police spokesperson Tinswalo Sibeko.
The vehicle eventually stopped at Klipfontein View, Rabi Ridge. One suspect was fatally wounded, while another sustained injuries and is currently receiving medical treatment under police guard. A third suspect fled the scene on foot. Police recovered 2 unlicensed firearms and ammunition with serial numbers filed off inside the suspect's vehicle. A case of attempted murder and possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition has been opened.
Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police has expressed confidence in the newly appointed Acting National Police Commissioner, Puleng Dimpane. President Cyril Ramaphosa says Dimpane will focus on addressing inadequacies in the procurement of goods and services in the police service. Her appointment follows the placement of Fani Masimula on precautionary suspension pending the outcome of his case. Masimula is charged with violating the Public Finance Management Act in relation to the 360 million rand SAPS tender awarded to alleged cartel member Fuzimuzi Cathy Mohlahlana. Ian Cameron is the committee's chairperson.
Look, in terms of the procurement crisis and corruption within the procurement space, I think that General Dimpane has a lot of experience about what has been done wrong over the past few years in that space. I think one of the big things that she'll be pressured about from all different spheres is the critical suspension that should happen to the head of supply chain management in the South African Police Service, Lieutenant General Molefe Fani, someone that had played a critical role in allowing Mr. Cathy Mohlahlana and Medicare 24 to gain access to the South African Police Service.
9 law enforcement officers are due to appear in the Johannesburg Magistrates Court today. They were arrested across Gauteng on Wednesday for allegedly extorting money from people during an unlawful search at a Crown Mines warehouse. The officers allegedly threatened a person with arrest over expired hair dye and demanded cash. Investigations revealed that the officers, including some who were off duty, conducted the search outside of their jurisdiction. Civil society movement Defend Our Democracy is confident the truth behind the killing of the Emfuleni municipality's finance official, Martha Rantsofu, will eventually come out. The movement visited the bereaved family in Sebokeng in the Vaal yesterday. Rantsofu was gunned down execution-style in Vanderbijl Park last month. She had earlier reportedly laid a charge of intimidation. The movement's acting executive director, Martha Ngoye, believes there's more to her killing.
The PKTT, right, has taken over the investigations of this case. That said to us that this is a very high-profile case that needs to be looked at. And as a movement, we are going to be watching it very carefully. We don't want her story to die. And she did not die in vain. Like Babita, we are going to make sure that we keep the story alive and we support the family where we can.
And finally, flooding has severely affected residents of the small rural and farming settlement of Alma outside Modimolle in Limpopo. Persistent rains have damaged property and infrastructure. The Mokolo River has also burst its banks. The Modimolle Mokopong municipality is assessing the extent of the damage. Residents say their lives are in danger.
It's dangerous. I can't stay here near the river. It's better we live here so that we must be safe and also my family must be safe.
Most of my things here inside the house, they are very damaged. So I would like municipality to come and help us with the things that has been damaged inside the house.
Recapping the top story, a suspect has been killed and another wounded in a shootout with police in Rabi Ridge, Johannesburg. Police say the suspects attempted to rob a business in Midrand last night. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
OutSurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754.
You may or may not know the difference between wheel alignment and wheel balancing, but you do know a great OutSurance deal when you see one. Get a car insurance quote now, and if OutSurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash. SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. OutSurance, licensed insurer and FSP, T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SAfm sports headlines, we're building up to this Soweto derby. Here's the Orlando Pirates midfielder Salelo Rasibocha, full of praise ahead of the big match with Kaizer Chiefs. And in Formula One, the veteran Helmut Marko has delivered a stunning endorsement of Mercedes rookie Kimi Antonelli, saying that he can win the World Championships. We'll find out more at around 6:30.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If you're on your way to Pretoria, it looks like a crash on the N14 before Jean Avenue. There's a heavy backlog from the N1 Brockfontein interchange going north into that. Crash on the M1 south at New Road, pushing a heavy Friday queue all the way back through to Old Joburg Road. The side roads are pretty heavy as motorists duck off that N1 and jam up the Old Joburg Road. Also, Olifantsfontein from Blue Hills across through Savannah Hills through Lever down towards the M1 highways, heavily backed as well. A lot of pressure in Midrand this morning. Crash coming out of Soweto on the N17 before the N1. That's a big queue back onto Klipstroom Valley. And the N1 North, a breakdown at Dibcliff, so very heavy coming up from Eldos through Devlin for a turn down to Uncle Charlie's side this morning. Key Ridge, a little bit slow as you line up towards Cliffdale this morning on your way to Pietermaritzburg. Slower than you'd like. Kumashu Highway, the lights are down at the N2, very heavy coming out of the Kumashu area. Big delays towards the N2 highway. And Cape Town, a crash coming through from Athlone into Mowbray's Klipfontein Road near Milner Road, causing delays. And the Marine Drive option, not too bad out of Tableview, but slow through Milnerton towards Lagoon Beach. With your traffic updates, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
8 after 7 o'clock. Welcome to the second hour of the National Briefing. It's Friday, the 24th of April. Coming up in this hour, we'll speak to the acting police minister on what happens next following the suspension of National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola. And what does this all mean for the leadership inside the SAPS? The outgoing South African Revenue Service Commissioner, Edward Kieswetter, shares the formula behind the turnaround as he prepares to leave one of the state's most closely watched institutions. He'll also be speaking to us within the next hour. And on the reality check, Tulima Donsela closes her reflections on unity in diversity. And of course, we'd love to hear from you. I'll be taking your calls on 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, you can send those text messages and voice notes on 0614 104 107. This is the National Briefing.
SABC2 is bringing the heat. New shows, new faces, and stories that hit home, like the one I'm in called Pimville. And that's where you can catch me, Michelle Masalakai, every Monday to Friday at 9 p.m. Live in every beat, the pulse of SA.
Spa Winter Car is back. stand a chance to win one of 50 Hyundai Extras when you buy participating products like 400ml Nivea body lotions or creams, including Radiant and Beauty for $52.99. Save 32 Rand. Or 50ml Nivea roll-on deodorant. Buy any two for 44. Save 26 Rand. Price is valid from 22 April till 10 May. Shop, swipe and win while stocks last. Only at Spar. T's and C's apply.
Exciting news, South Africa. SABC TV Licenses has partnered with Capitec to make paying your TV license simple, affordable and accessible. If you're a Capitec client, sign into the app and click on Transact. Next, select Pay Bills, then click Pay At and enter your reference number to complete your payment. It's as easy as that. You'll receive instant SMS confirmation. Now you can keep your stories alive and your screens shining bright. TV licenses, pay yours, make a difference.
This is Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
In consideration, I have agreed with General Masemola that he be deemed to be on precautionary suspension pending the conclusion of the case. To ensure stability and continuity in the South African Police Force, I have appointed Lieutenant General Puleng Dimpane as the acting National Commissioner of Police.
That is President Cyril Ramaphosa there during the announcement yesterday of the suspension of the National Police Commissioner. The acting Police Commissioner, Feroz Kachalia, joins us on the line this morning. Mr. Kachalia, thank you so much for your time. Let's start with the key considerations that went into making the decision to suspend the National Commissioner.
Good morning, Cathy. Good morning to your leaders, your listeners. Look, after the summons and then the appearance in court, a decision had to be made about what to do. The president considered the matter very carefully. He engaged with me and others, and eventually came to the decision, once he had appeared in court, that a precautionary suspension, which is not punitive, is the right way forward to afford the commissioner an opportunity to deal with the judicial process, and at the same time to make a decision by appointing Lieutenant General Dimpane in an acting position. So no final decisions have been made, in order to ensure that the work of the South African Police Service in combating crime continues.
You've referenced an internal forensic report that looked into the same matters that seem to be a part of the charge sheet that IDEC has put together. In talking about that, you seem to leave the door open that there could potentially be more steps taken against the police commissioner and others potentially within the SAPS.
No, so let me be clear about this. There was an internal investigation conducted by the Forensic Division and the Risk Management Division in SAPS following an internal audit inquiry. That process should not be conflated with the IDAC process leading to the decisions that IDAC has made to charge the commissioner under the Public Finance Management Act, along with 14 others who face different charges. This was an internal forensic investigation, but it investigated the Medicare contract. Inter alia, that investigation occurred because Lieutenant General Dimpane red flagged the contract. that investigation has been concluded. I got the report about 10 days ago or so, sometime after the IDAC charges and the summons. And that report is thorough. It comes to conclusions on the Medicare contract and the people who are involved in that procurement process that are largely consistent with the IDAC decisions. And so what I was indicating in the interview is that when I meet Lieutenant General Dimpane as the new acting national commissioner, I will have to discuss with her what steps will need to be taken to implement the recommendations and findings of that internal investigation. And I have read the report, and there's no question that that further action will have to be taken against some of the individuals, and there are about 15 or 16 who against whom findings have been made.
Do those individuals include the now suspended National Commissioner?
Yes, findings were made against General Masemola with respect to the same Medicare contract involving Mr. Matlala and his company.
So ultimately, is that part of what also strengthened the case to place him on suspension? Because it seems that there will well be two processes underway, one that is criminal and one that is institutional.
Yes, it did strengthen the case for a precautionary suspension, among other options. But I don't want to preempt the discussion I need to have with the new national commissioner.
What is the brief that you are going to be giving Major General Dimpane?
Cathy, let me say this. I think that Lieutenant General Dimpane, who, by the way, is a lieutenant general, so the suggestion that she's junior is just wrong.
Apologies, that is in fact my mistake. Apologies for that.
No, I'm not really responding to what you've just said, Cathy. I just want to take the opportunity of this interview to respond to some of the observations that I see being made. She is a lieutenant general since 2019. So she has been part of the top leadership of SAPS, having had a career in the South African Police Service for 2 decades and a career in the public service for 3 decades. And the fact that she's a professional, well qualified, with strong experience in financial management. In fact, she's the divisional commissioner for financial management and the CFO, I believe is exactly what we need in this current moment. What have we learned? By contrast with all her predecessors, she has attributes which have been missing in the top leadership of the South African Police Service. And where has that led us? So I see this as, if you like, one of the steps we are taking to professionalize the police service. She is a new kind of national commissioner with qualities, skills, and attributes that are needed in the leadership. She will function as part of a collective because no leader of any large organization can have all the skills and requirements to lead as an individual. So that's why we took the decision some time ago. It was at my recommendation that General Mkwanazi needs to be brought in to lead the fight against organized crime. And General Musikidi is the current chairperson of the NAT Joints, which is the structure, the operational structure through which crime combating operations are planned and executed. So, and of course, there are others in the senior leadership. And my expectation is that this team will work together with the new national commissioner, because that is what she is, to embrace her leadership, to support her, to enable her to carry out the mandate that she has been given. And one of them, of course, maybe the central mandate, is to help with the reset agenda. Because again, what has become clear since the Zondo Commission and now the Madlanga Commission is that we have serious problems leading to corruption in supply chain, for instance. Procurement reform, as the president indicated in his statement yesterday, is urgent. So I'm not going to be waiting for the Madlanga Commission's report in August before steps will be taken to deal with the systemic problems in supply chain.
Sure.
Let me say this. Sorry, Cathy, if I'm a bit on a roll, but just let me make this point. That I think that what this Mohlahlana contract shows that we've had a kind of Tembisa hospital problem in SAPS. In other words, that we're dealing with systemic corruption. This contract could not have been authorized, this illegal contract, without the collusion of several actors acting deliberately to authorize a contract that should have been flagged from the very beginning.
Commissioner, there are those, of course, sorry, Minister, there are those who say that she very well was part of the system as CFO. And these anomalies, this maladministration around financial reporting happened under her watch. So how then can she seemingly be promoted in this kind of environment?
Well, again, this interview, Cathy, gives me the opportunity to correct falsehoods, because one of the reasons that I thought in my discussions with the president that this is an option that should be considered is because I have seen through the last 8 months or so that we are dealing here with a person of integrity who has an independent mind. So, the way the system works, whenever there are many matters are signed off through various levels, and then eventually they come to me. And often it's been the case that she's the one person who says, no, I'm not attaching my signature for this reason because I don't agree with this decision. And in respect of the Mohlahlana matter, she adopted the correct position from the very beginning. And the reason that we had that forensic investigation and now that report is because she carried out her responsibilities as the CFO and the Divisional Commissioner for Financial Management without fear or favor, as a professional, as a competent professional, which is what we expect from a national commissioner.
Minister, yesterday we spoke to the former Intelligence Minister, Ronnie Kasrils, who has described the patterns that he's seeing within our policing and the links to criminal networks as having the hallmarks of a mafia state. What is your response to that?
Well, Cathy, by the way, Ronnie Kasrils is my neighbor, and I've known Ronnie for many years, and I hold him in the highest regard. And the statements he made are absolutely correct. I have made similar statements for several months now. What I would say is this. I think that the country, as indeed many countries across the world, because I've also tried to stress that this evolving phenomenon of transnational organized crime is evolving. Many countries are facing threats like we do, which are not simply the same threats that we have faced over the last 100 years. This is an evolving threat, and one of the characteristics of cartelization, if I might put it that way, of these organized crime networks is that increasingly they're seeking to infiltrate law enforcement systems and other institutions of government. This is not just happening in South Africa. I recently looked at a report emanating from Toronto, Canada, identifying precisely this risk of infiltration by cartels. Now, the Matlala matter is an indication of what is beginning to happen. And I think what is going to be critical for the country's future is that we recognize the threat and take the steps that are necessary. And I believe those steps are being taken. And I believe that the appointment of Lieutenant General Dimpana as the Acting National Commissioner is going to help us to take the steps that are necessary to preempt and curtail this phenomenon. In other words, to manage the risk.
Reasonably, how much stability can one bring in an acting position? Because we have an acting national commissioner. We've got a suspended deputy national commissioner. You yourself, Minister, are in an acting role. Have you had a conversation with the president about this?
No, it's not my place to discuss my position. You know, I feel privileged to be in a position to. I have the responsibility. With respect to SAPS, you know, I think that the current situation is certainly not optimal. But what is the solution here? We have findings being made by the Madlanga Commission. We are taking action pursuant, as the public expects, to those findings. I'm indicating that this is not the end of the accountability trajectory that we need to follow, but we will take all the necessary action, and that will have consequences, because all of these people who are being placed, for instance, on precautionary suspension, their positions can't be filled. So I've already had a meeting with General Nkua, who's in charge of human resource management in the organization. And I've asked her for in fact, I've already received a report from her, looking at the organization as a whole, what are the strategic positions that have to be filled, and so forth. So in the next 2 weeks, it will become clear what action needs to be taken, because we want to ensure that the organization is stable. We're looking at procurement. I'm not aware if your listeners are aware of a structure called GTAC in the Treasury, a highly competent unit with procurement, and we're working with them to identify exactly what remedial action we need to take with respect to procurement reform. And that is, as I've indicated, the first order of business in my conversation with General Dimpane.
All right. The Acting Minister of Police, Feroz Kachalia, on the national briefing this morning. So we'll bring in some of your calls. I know we are still scheduled to speak to the SARS Commissioner. That interview will be taking place a little later in the hour. Let me squeeze Thabo in Germiston. Good morning. You want to respond to this issue of the appointment of an Acting National Commissioner?
Yes, Ms. Cathy. Good morning, and good morning to the listeners. Yeah, Ms. Cathy, I'm not too sure. Have you seen the Action SA's briefing lately, how they responded, James, regarding this appointment? They've indicated that this new acting national police commissioner has been implicated in tender irregularities. And I remember, because I remember her face as well, I remember she appeared in one of it's either the ad hoc committee or the Madlanga commission, in one of them or both, regarding this issue of tender irregularities. So there's already a cloud, Cathy, hanging over her, So perhaps if the minister is still there, can he
But
respond?
Thabo, did you miss what the minister said about how she was critical in red flagging the Medicare contract and instituting a forensic investigation into it?
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, the fact that she appeared in the commissions to sort of answer to those accusations that were leveled against her. I'm not too sure that on its own, because now we're still waiting for reports, remember, from Matlanga and all of that. So I'm not too sure if she was worth to be considered for appointment, at this point in time.
Okay.
I'm not too sure,
All right.
Kathy, but it's something that we need to watch the space. But I won't be surprised if there will be challenges of the president's decision to appoint her, going forward.
Thabo, we're going to have to leave it there. Anne Musa is standing by with your latest headlines. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning. Thanks, Cathy. In the headlines, the Boksburg Magistrates Court will this morning rule in the bail application of suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi and City of Ekurhuleni Manager Kagiso Lerutla. They were arrested at the weekend on charges of corruption, fraud and defeating the ends of justice. A suspect has been killed and another wounded in a shootout with police in Rabi Ridge. Police say these suspects attempted to rob a business in Midrand last night. And more than 250 immigrants from India, claiming descent from one of the biblical lost tribes of Israel, have touched down in Tel Aviv. I'll have details on these and other stories at 8.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If you're driving Gauteng, it's a bit crazy on the highways. We start in the south with a couple of breakdowns to stationary vehicles before Diepkloof interchange. That run from Eldo's into Diepkloof for a connection down Uncle Charlie's really heavy. Crash coming out of Soweto on the N17 before you get to the N1. That's causing a lot of pressure back around the Soweto Circle, Cliffs Road Valley, Soweto Highway. And looks like it's forcing a lot of traffic up the New Canada Road. So just be aware of that. Some real issues coming out of Soweto this morning. Crash at Giluli's on the N12 westbound. So both the N12 and R24 routes coming in from Ekurhuleni side are under some pressure. And then if you're around 20, it is heavy this morning. Crash on the R21 south at Monument Park. Crash on the N14 north going through to Jean Avenue. It's about a 25-minute queue to get from Brockfontein up into Jean Avenue territory. And the big one, the crash on the M1 south at New Road, causing a big, heavy backlog from Centurion, from Old Joburg Road. The whole Midrand area really heavy this morning. Durban, N2 north from the M7 up through towards Westwood Mall. A lot heavier than you might be expecting this morning. It's absolutely jam-packed through there. Cape Town, a crash on Klipfontein Road at Milner, causing big delays out of Athlone in towards the Mowbray area. And the highway network's not too bad around Cape Town, with the exception of a crash on the R300 north before Old Paarl Road. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
This is SAFM Sport with Zai Khan.
Zaikan, all eyes on the Soweto derby. Orlando Pirates also looking for ways to boost the squad.
Oh, yes, Kathy. And they've got a big return on a big stage. And you know it doesn't get bigger than this. Long weekend, Soweto derby, a comeback story. And we've got a man who went from injury rehab and he's going straight into a Soweto derby. But he could add a fresh dimension to Pirates this weekend. Is midfielder Salelo Rasibocha. After nearly a year out, he's opened up on his mental battle, the support behind the scenes, and why the focus heading into the Soweto derby must stay firmly on the job at hand.
Yeah, the upcoming game obviously it's a very big game, you know, but we're taking it one game at a time, you know. It's a time where we don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, you know. The most important thing is to focus on the upcoming games, and I hope, you know, whoever that is going to play in the game should, you know, understand that it's one of the games that has to be played also in the league, and we should play the game, not the occasion.
In In the meantime, Kaizer Chiefs co-coach Khalil Ben Yusuf says his side is in a much better space heading into the weekend's derby. After a tough defeat earlier in the season, he believes the mindset has shifted, and with experience of big rivalries back home in Tunisia, he knows exactly what this occasion demands.
It's derby game, so it's prestige game. It's about who will win the derby. So it's like trophy also for Soweto people, who will be the best team. And you know that if the team who will win this derby, he will continue to speak from today until the next derby about this game. But for us, like I said, it's a league game. The most important, we are managing every game as a cup game. Every game we respect all the teams, but we think more about ourselves. We think more about our performance. We think more about our player, because I know that I said every meeting for the player, when we are ready 100% or more than 100% mentally, physically and tactically, I think we can win every game.
And you can catch the Soweto derby live on SABC Sport. Elsewhere, FIFA has dismissed calls to replace Iran with Italy at this year's World Cup. Despite political concerns, FIFA President Gianni Infantino has confirmed Iran will participate, with officials rejecting suggestions of a late replacement as inappropriate. And finally, cricket. Sanju Samson's unbeaten century and a spell from Akil Hussain powered the Chennai Super Kings to a crushing 103-run win over the Mumbai Indians at their Wankhede Stadium. Samson smashed 101 of 54 balls as Chennai posted 207 for 6 before Hussain tore through the top order with 4 for 17 as Mumbai were bundled out for just 104. It's the Mumbai Indians' heaviest defeat in IPL history, while Chennai climb the standings. And that's your sports. Swing back for more here on the National Briefing at the top of the hour. I'm Zai Khan.
Have you discovered the TV license WhatsApp yet? We see you, binging reruns, living for the drama, loving the SABC Plus sports replays. Now, paying your TV license fits the vibe. Simply say hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060. Get your balance, make a payment, or set up a debit order all in one chat. No queues, no please hold, just convenience that feels like it should have been here all along. Because every screen in South Africa is a stage and yours is lit. So why wait? Send hi on WhatsApp to 077 6069 060 and get your TV license sorted today. Hashtag your screen, your story.
You may or may not know the difference between wheel alignment and wheel balancing, but you do know a great Outsurance deal when you see one. Get a Consurance quote now, and if Outsurance can't save you money, ask for 500 Rand or 1,500 Rand if you've been claim-free and with the same insurer for 3 years. Get savings or cash, SMS out to 30754. That's out to 30754. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
The Market Brief with Ndauleng Lechela on SAFM.
Good morning again, Ndauleng. Taking a look at the latest update, South African consumers seem to be holding up, but there are concerns from the likes of Discovery and Visa that we are definitely under strain.
Yeah, and this is according to Discovery and Visa's spend trend report, Cathy, which tracked spend in 2025, where many households leaned on rewards, budgeting tools, and value-seeking behavior to stretch incomes rather than signaling distress. The data points to disciplined spending choices, with consumers prioritizing essentials, protecting small treats like the odd morning coffee. And an interesting emerging trend is the rapid rise of health and wellness spending, particularly around prescribed weight management treatments, products like Ozempic, for example. Now, about 14% of surveyed higher income households report use, with users shifting behavior toward healthier food choices. But looking ahead, like you highlighted there, the outlook is more cautious, with higher fuel prices linked to global energy risks expected to weigh on disposable income, potentially slowing discretionary spend growth for 2026. In the meantime, Clicks is a key beneficiary of South Africa's growing shift toward reward-driven spending as consumers lean on loyalty programs to stretch their budgets. Now, the retailer's Club Card program now drives 83.7% of total sales, with nearly 13 million active members actively trading spend for cashback and personalized rewards. Now, in the first half of its financial year, members earned 527 million rands in rewards, reinforcing the program's role in shaping purchasing decisions and repeat shopping. Now, this behavior is boosting sales momentum, with Clicks reporting stronger basket sizes and higher engagement as customers consolidate spending within the ecosystem to maximize benefits. Even amid consumer pressure and operational disruptions, the loyalty flywheel is cushioning performance, which led to an 8% rise in its profits. Now, despite Clicks delivering an increase in its top and bottom line, it closed near a one-year low yesterday as investors pointed to its outlook, saying it failed to impress markets. Now, that's also weighing on the JSE's overall performance overnight. Looking ahead, though, local markets are likely to remain choppy on firmer oil prices. Brent is 0.5% higher this morning at around $105 a barrel. This has hopes faded for a quick resolution to the Iran conflict. And that also weighing on global equities, with US futures and Asian markets mixed. Currencies also buckling under the pressure, with the rand at 16.65 to the dollar, 22.41 to the pound, and 19.44 to the euro. And that's a wrap of your market brief. I'll catch you back next week for another update on business and economics news. I'm Ntauling Lechela.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Let's start, obviously, with the country we're in right now, South Africa. What does it say about South Africa?
South Africa, we pretty much, Ashraf, it's probably quite similar to what we've seen the last few years, and maybe a little more concerning this time around because of what we're seeing at the Midlanga Commission. So, we know South Africa's got this amazing constitution, policies, legislation. You and I have spoken about this, things that have a strong commitment to human rights, but we are failing. Our government is failing in implementation, lack of accountability, corruption, and this all affects the delivery of services.
Genevieve Quintal, the Amnesty International South African Media and Communications Officer.
Ashraf Garda on SAFM. Reality check on the National Briefing.
It's 7:43. You're still tuned in to the National Briefing. Can you believe it? It's Friday already, which means that Professor Thuli Madonsela is going to be concluding her lot today as our contributor for the reality check. She started off on Monday with Unity in Diversity, asking us a question: what will it take to live at peace with each other? And can we do that without inequality, without social justice? Prof. Madonsela, good morning to you. Firstly, thank you for joining us for this week and the deep reflections that you've brought us. I wonder where you're going to end it off today.
Well, good morning, Cathy. Good morning to the listeners. Thank you for the privilege. It is a privilege to talk about where we are so that we can energize ourselves to really achieve our constitutional dreams, which are also the dreams that powered June 16, 1976.
And your concluding reflections then for the week, Prof. Madonsela?
I would say basically, we have spoken about what has gone wrong, that we're still not equal, and also that there are complaints on both sides that we're not doing the right thing, partly because we have not educated people about the shadow of the past. So if we had to move forward with unity in diversity, I want us to acknowledge the great things we've done. For example, I'm at the Constitutional Court this morning for a moot court of young people, mostly young Black lawyers in universities. That would not have been possible under apartheid. For the highest court in the land to allow little ones from diverse communities to come and talk about the Constitution and pretend to be lawyers and judges. So we have a Chief Justice that's a woman, an African. Under apartheid, it would not have been possible. Deputy Chief Justice, an African as well. We have a parliament that is diverse, that reflects who we are as South Africans. We have a cabinet that reflects who we are as South Africans. We have the courts themselves basically mostly reflect who we are as South Africans. We spend a lot of money on welfare, and our grandfathers and great-grandfathers were not getting those welfare benefits, what we call the grants. We have a grant system. We even have an SRD grant, which means unemployed people can get a little bit. Employment through the Employment Equity Act and the Broad-Based Black Economic Empowerment Act, progress has been made. But more importantly, Cathy and fellow South Africans, we have not killed each other. We have not said those who came in since 1652 should go back to where they came from. In most countries, when there was decolonization, people were sent back to their mother countries. So we've done well. We spend a lot of money in South Africa. Our government spends a fortune. It spends like rich countries when it comes to advancing human well-being. So what could we do better? I would say, number one, let's get South Africa to talk about the past and how the shadow of the past continues to influence the present. But let's center that discussion within Ubuntu. S versus Makwanyane says, we're not seeking revenge, we're not seeking retribution, but we're seeking restitution. Secondly, let's make sure that we capacitate local government to play a central role. And that would mean local government should shed the legacy of apartheid, should shed incompetence, and should shed corruption so that it becomes a role player at the center of transformative governance, prioritizing things such as food security, freedom from hunger, and anti-poverty. I just came back from Geneva yesterday. They were talking about a roadmap towards ending poverty. And part of that roadmap, and this is now being directed to our president and his team, and he spoke so well in Spain, is let's stop focusing on GDP, foreign direct investments, and jobs only. Let's take a 360 degrees approach that looks at how do we finish the unfinished business of centering the achievement of equality. So implement the Promotion of Equality and Prevention of Unfair Discrimination Act. 2, let's implement something like the Social Justice Impact Assessment Matrix. It predictively assesses how a law is going to either increase inequality or decrease inequality, increase poverty or decrease poverty, increase hunger or decrease hunger. Right now, we're talking, for example, with the Minister of Finance about the fuel levy. We think it's regressive. We think it's going to increase inequality. So it's things like that that just make sure that we are fair to everyone. So lastly, I just want to say, let's center the preamble to the Constitution. Let every child know the preamble. Let every minister, let every judge, let every parliamentarian, let every councillor at local government know the preamble so that every decision they make, as was said in Van Heerden, seeks to promote equality rather than exacerbate inequality, poverty, and hunger.
Professor Thuli Madonsela, thank you for those reflections. It's been a pleasure having you on the show with us on the Reality Check this week. I wonder, do you know maybe even the opening lines of the preambles? Let's see how quickly you can think on your feet. We'll take WhatsApp voice notes. Can your WhatsApp voice notes please start with the opening lines of the preamble to the country's constitution? Yes, even if you use Google, I won't hold it against you, but I want to know if you actually know what it says. On that note, let's take the latest traffic update.
SAFM. Prime time all day long.
SAFM traffic with momentum. Just as you plan your route, only 15% of households plan for retirement. Plan yours today. Speak to a Momentum accredited financial advisor for advice that meets your context.
SAFM. Guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Friday these days can be the easiest of the 5 sort of Monday to Friday days, particularly around Gauteng, but not today. Completely different. We've got some big delays. N1 South, a crash at New Road. It's been with us all morning. Really heavy backlogs to Old Joburg Road. A lot of congestion getting into the highway at SAMRand and also on the Olifantsfontein Bridge system. Also a crash on the N14 North going up to Jean Avenue. That back of that queue starts on the Krugersdorp Highway of the N14, halfway back towards Pretoria West. So very big backlog coming in on the Krugersdorp Highway onto the Benskub, and also a crash R21 South at Monument Park causing some backlogs. Joburg's N3 running south into Galuli's busy but easing. That's the good news there. There is a crash heading out of town towards Davyton just before you get to Pitfontein, so moving from Snake Road out in towards that, it's quite heavy. Durban's N3 Keyridge Cliffdale was really heavy earlier, looks to have normalised. M13 Fields Hill is tight from Kloof, a problem down there at Richmond Road at the bottom of the hill causing delays. N2 North very heavy again for Friday, jammed up from the M7 through to Westwood Mall. No traffic lights, Kwamashu Highway N2, that's a mission getting out of Kwamashu, and badly backlogging traffic N2 North trying to get off at the Kwamashu off-ramp. At Cape Town this morning, R300 under some pressure heading north, a crash near Bottleray Road, forcing traffic queues back into Cales River territory. Rob Byrne, SAFM Traffic.
Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
They say the early bird catches the worm. Great advice, unless you're the worm. Generic so-called wisdom doesn't work for everyone, so I settle for a financial plan that's one size fits some. Momentum accredited financial advisors take the time to get to really know your unique situation. Advice meets your context. Momentum, your journey to success. Momentum is part of Momentum Group Limited, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
You are listening to the National Briefing with Cathy Mohlahlana.
All right, 7:52 as we continue the conversation on the National Briefing. Our next guest inherited a broken tax agency. He leaves it collecting record revenue, fully digitized and by most measures trusted again. After 7 years at the helm, Edward Kieswetter is now going to be officially exiting the South African Revenue Service. He joins us this morning. Commissioner Kieswetter, thank you so much for your time. When you walked into SARS in 2019, what did you find that perhaps the public never fully understood, and which part of that damage was the hardest to undo?
Good morning, Cathy. Thank you. You know, the Nugent report obviously captured the facts, many of the facts of that ultimately they explained as a total breakdown in governance and integrity, the dismantling of tried and tested organization arrangements like the Large Business Center and other functions in SARS. But the most that is not often recorded well is the extent of trauma, the breakdown in morale, and the erosion of trust that an organization experiences. And so I knew from the outset that the important aspect that needed to be addressed is not the technology, the processes, and the systems. And of course, the organizational arrangements mattered, but it was listening, understanding, and commencing a process of reparation and healing. Firstly. Secondly, resetting leadership, because everything stands or falls by leadership. And then slowly, from the inside out, begin to build institutional resilience. And of course, no sooner had we started that we then had to deal with COVID-19. But what we decided to do was to use this crisis to redouble our efforts, step up our modernization, and actually came throughout that much stronger.
Despite COVID and what really would be seen as the worst economic period in a generation, you still showed record revenue collection. Where did that growth actually come from, Commissioner?
What's really remarkable is to put that in context. Our economy, in nominal terms, since COVID, has grown by just over 6% nominally, if you add inflation and real growth. And our revenue growth has grown by almost 10% per year. Now, you are then quite right to ask, where does it come from? Well, the answer is we knew we had to do some must-win battles. The first was, in addition to the softer stuff I referred to and building internal resilience, we had to broaden the tax base, make sure people who must be on the register were on the register. Secondly, we had to improve the compliance behavior of taxpayers. And thirdly, drive a focused revenue recovery program. And collectively, through that and the way we engage, trust went from 48% in 2019 to 75%. Our service went from 54 to over 90%. And we built a focused engine to prevent revenue leakage that in the last year yielded well over 100 billion rand, recovered more than 110 billion rand of debt, over 20 billion from the illicit and criminal economy, and 42 billion from focused audits, and 17 billion from customs. And these are the little pockets of effort that cumulatively then have resulted in the revenue that we have collected. Over 300 billion in 2 successive years from our compliance effort, 1.6 trillion rand of additional revenue that we have added. That's what gave us the growth of almost 10%.
There are, of course, still challenges, Commissioner. We've been watching the Mohlahlana Commission, and every other day is an example of an official who's had millions running through their accounts that bears no relationship to what their declared income is. Where is the gap, and how is it possible that we're seeing this kind of money move through the system without triggering SARS, whether by way of audit, into these individuals themselves? What's needed to be able to track how money is flowing through our economy more effectively?
Well, Cathy, obviously the first evidence that SARS receives of what people have earned is what they declare in their income, in their annual returns. To detect other forms of income, we work with the banks, both domestic and overseas, and slowly we discover unexplained wealth. We do lifestyle audits and have already begun to show quite a significant improvement. But it takes time, and I can tell you these individuals, they don't welcome us when we find them. They fight us, they take us to court, they act with impunity. So it's hard, it's complicated work, and it will take time. But we are confident that this work will gain momentum.
When you now look ahead to the future, what's next?
We'll make some announcements soon, but I remain somewhere making a contribution to this lovely country, find my way to do public service, but more about that later.
Commissioner Kieswetter, you're leaving us on a bit of a cliffhanger, right?
We'll talk soon, Cathy.
Edward Kieswetter, the outgoing Commissioner of the South African Revenue Service. And, of course, the Revenue Service now hailed as one of the strongest institutions to come out of South Africa. SARS rated as among the best on the continent. Are they an example of what can be for our state-owned enterprises? And don't forget that just a decade ago, the picture that we're seeing was very different to the SARS that we're talking about today. All right, I'll be taking your calls in the next hour, 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032 on the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. It's 8 o'clock and Musa is standing by with your latest news update.
Outsurance Essential is made for older cars. Claims are paid in cash within 5 working days, and you choose your own panel beater. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Thanks, Cathy. In our top stories, Boksburg Magistrates Court to rule on Mkhwanazi and Lerutla's bail bid, and a suspect killed in Rabi Ridge police shootout. Good morning. The Boksburg Magistrates Court will this morning rule in the bail application of suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Julius Mkhwanazi and City of Ekurhuleni manager Kagiso Lerutla. They were arrested at the weekend on charges of corruption, fraud and defeating the ends of justice. Despite the accused submitting that they won't interfere with the investigation, State Prosecutor Nebam Telwa is adamant that if released on bail, they would intimidate witnesses.
It also revealed that all those witnesses were about to blow whistles on corruption and murder in the municipality. Examples of those are, bullet point 1, it is public knowledge that the famous deceased witness D told the country that applicant 1 was at 2 o'clock in the morning, 11 hours of the morning, where he ordered the disposal of the deceased body into the dam.
Meanwhile, suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini is this morning set to return to testify before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. Dlamini was initially scheduled to be cross-examined on Wednesday and yesterday, but the testimonies of suspended Tshwane Chief Financial Officer Gareth Mnisi and the Sidibeng SAPS District Commissioner Mbangwa Nkwashu were extended. Dlamini earlier told the committee's chairperson, Justice Mbuyiseli Matlanga, that he had prior arrangements for today.
If I can't manage to move the schedule, what will be the arrangement? Can I get another date? I'll have to move the things that are planned for tomorrow. Deputy Chief, I have made the direction that you should be here tomorrow. So let us see what happens tomorrow. If you are not here, there would have to be exceptional circumstances for you not to be here tomorrow. We'll try so, Commissioner.
A suspect has been killed and another wounded in a shootout with police in Rabi Ridge in Johannesburg. Police say the suspects attempted to rob a business in Midrand last night. The suspects sped off when officers arrived. Gauteng Police spokesperson Tinswalo Sibeko.
The vehicle eventually stopped at Klipfontein View, Rabi Ridge. One suspect was fatally wounded, while another sustained injuries and is currently receiving medical treatment under police guard. A third suspect fled the scene on foot. Police recovered 2 unlicensed firearms and ammunition with serial numbers filed off inside the suspect's vehicle. A case of attempted murder and possession of unlicensed firearms and ammunition has been opened.
In the Western Cape, a 36-year-old man has been killed in a hail of bullets on a bridge on Valhalla Drive between Pontiavel and Kalksteenfontein on the Cape Flats. Another man has been wounded. Police spokesperson FC van Wyk says the two were driving over the bridge when occupants of another passing vehicle opened fire on them.
According to reports, the two were driving from Bonteheuwel towards Kalksteenfontein when a blue-color Audi vehicle passed and the occupants randomly started shooting at them. The registration number is unknown of the Audi vehicle. The injured victim was privately transported to a nearby medical facility for treatment. The motive for this shooting incident forms part of our police investigation. A case of murder and attempted murder was opened.
And finally, more than 250 immigrants from India claiming descent from one of the biblical lost tribes of Israel have touched down in Tel Aviv. The Israeli immigration minister who welcomed the newcomers at the airport say their arrival marks a historic moment. The BBC's Sanjay Dasgupta has the details.
Israel's Ministry of Integration says the immigrants will be settled in the north of the country. These are the first to arrive since the Israeli government decided in November to accept around 4,600 members of the Bnei Menashe community. The Bnei Menashe of Manipur and Mizoram in northeastern India say they are the descendants of one of the 10 lost tribes of ancient Israel, who were driven out by the Assyrian kings roughly 2,700 years ago.
Recapping the top story, the Boksburg Magistrates Court will this morning rule in the bail application of suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi and City of Ekurhuleni Manager Kagiso Lerutla. For SAFM News, I am Anne Musa.
Theft, accident, and 1 million rand third-party cover for your older car. Outsurance Essential has it all. Get a quote. SMS CAR to 43185. That's CAR to 43185.
Driving an older car, you can't miss this. For his 2012 Hyundai Sonata, 43-year-old Qiniso chose Outsurance Essential Car Insurance because he gets covered for full retail value of if his car is stolen or hijacked. For these and many more benefits, Qiniso pays only 510 Rand a month. Get Outsurance Essential Car Insurance today for unfinanced cars older than 5 years and valued at less than 130,000 Rand. SMS CAR to 43187. That's CAR to 43187. Outsurance, licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
It's a very good morning to you. In your SFM Sports Headlines, rugby, we've got the Bulls coach Johan Ackerman backing captain Marcel Coetzee ahead of the crucial United Rugby Championship clash against the Scarlets. And not far behind, the big derby, the Soweto Derby build-up between Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs. We've got the details at around 8:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good morning. Lots of pressure between Pretoria and Joburg. If you're on your way down to Joburg, that earlier crash at New Road on the M1 still pushing a queue back to about Old Joburg and forcing a big volume down the Old Joburg Road into Midrand as an alternative. Crash going into Pretoria on the N14 before Jean Avenue. The queue starts halfway back towards Pretoria West on the Krugersdorp Highway through Brockfontein and then up the Ben Skimmen towards that crash. Also a collision R21 South at the Monument Park Solomon Mashlangu exit causing some delays on that run through as well. Joburg side, bit of pressure on the N1 through Dipcliffe interchange this morning. Crash on the N12 eastbound after Reading towards Oakdean. That's causing delays. And a collision at Pitfontein. If you're on your way out of town towards Davyton, queues from Benoni going into that one. Durban's N2 North still under pressure from the M7 through to Westwood Mall area, the roadworks. And then a bit of a wait to get off the N2 North at Komarshu Highway due to faulty traffic lights. Key Ridge Cliffdale still looking okay today. No problems there. Cape Town, fairly easy on the highways. The standout is really the R300. You're trapped in a bit of a queue from Cales River up to Brackenfell. That's a crash near the Bottler Ray Road bridge. With your traffic update, I'm Rob Byrne.
The National Briefing on SAFM. Clarity, context, and conversation. This is where the day begins with Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
Nine after 8 o'clock, you're listening to the National Briefing. And of course, this is the final hour of the show. Coming up, the Public Servants Association calls for accountability over the number of public servants who are suspended on full pay with no end in sight. We'll speak to them shortly. Later on in the hour, a Soweto-born entrepreneur has built a mobile app that detects sewage blockages and missing manhole covers. All of it in an attempt to boost governance at a local level. We'll speak to Tulani Kumalo within the hour. And the question I asked you coming into the 8 o'clock hour: what is the first sentence of the country's preamble? Do you know? I'd love to hear from you. 086 000 2032 is the number to dial. 086 000 2032. On the WhatsApp voice note line, 0614 104 107. That's where you can send your WhatsApp voice notes and text messages. 0614 104 107. This is the National Briefing as we bring you clarity, context, and conversation.
Nothing has changed. The Proteas women and women in blue both want to deliver top-class performance. This is the 5th and final T20 International. Witness the mouth-watering clash between South Africa and India on Monday, 27 April at 13:55. Live on SABC Plus and SABC 3, with reports on SABC radio stations. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
This is Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
You're listening to the National Briefing. Well, let's get into this story then. Taxpayers could be footing up to R1 billion. This is for dysfunction within the public service. The Public Servants Association saying government has lost this amount of money in the past 5 years. This is due to prolonged suspensions that drag on without any kind of resolution. Ruben Maleka is General Manager for the PSA, joins us on the line. Mr. Maleka, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Of course, the concern is well placed because every day there's news of yet another suspended public official on full pay, while whatever internal or external process needs to unfold.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to the listeners of SAFM. Yes, indeed, the PSA is one of the largest trade unions that is affected by this prolonged suspension, because you would find that some are members of the PSA. Therefore, it means for prolonged time, we have to deal with matters that never ends. We are concerned because we know that there are standards and policies in the public service. Firstly, the Resolution 1 of 2003 of the PSEBC states that the employer must hold a hearing within 60 days after a suspension or precautionary suspension. What was the purpose? The purpose was to allow that there must be speedy resolution. The Labor Relations Act talks to a speedy resolution of disputes. And what is more now, I want to give a practical example of exactly what is transpiring in the public service. Let's go back to the issue of the suspended then DG of Department of Justice as a result of procurement processes towards the establishment of Madlanga Commission. You would recall that that suspension went on up until the contract of the DG came to an end. Then you ask yourself, what was the purpose of suspension then? If you suspend, it means you suspend without having any reasons for any misconduct that has been alleged to have been happened. Because if you have got reasons, you would within that time frame of 60 days be able to prefer charges, take the matter to dismissal hearing, and conclude the hearing. So it has become a kind of a cover-up or a victimhood of somebody trying to justify why could not do a certain thing. Therefore, somebody must be suspended without the reason. The other part, Cathy, that I want to also address is the recent suspension of the Commissioner of Police. When is the term of Commissioner Masemla coming to an end? Then you'll find that it's left with less than 3 years. And how long is going to prolong until this very procedures? Because remember, he has now been put on precautionary suspension on the basis that he is appearing before the court in relation to the issue of appointment of Medicare 24. And yes, of course, he is accountable. He is responsible to ensure that whoever has to do procurement must adhere to PFMA. But the second in charge, who is also responsible, is the CFO. The CFO is the current appointed acting commissioner. And what is the expectation? The expectation is that the acting commissioner would be involved in drawing up the internal charges of the suspended commissioner. At the same time, one would ask the same question to say, in the instance when everything happened, where was this CFO? Because end of the day, the CFO is going to be the witness in court of any charges that would be preferred against the commissioner. So the whole issue, you can see that is not going to come to an end very soon. And while there is no actual employer and employee, charges towards any misconduct, is dependent on a criminal process that we know that is going to be prolonged. And by the time it's come to an end, we know that the contract would have ended. Therefore, the commissioner would go away because the contract would have ended. So these are the things that we're saying. Suspensions must be legitimate and be directed to be finalized on time to ensure fairness to both the taxpayers, the South Africans, and the person being suspended.
Yeah, Ruben Maleka, we're going to leave it there for this morning. He is the general manager at the Public Servants Association. So you heard the concern then. And these are also similar
Thank you very much.
to concerns that have been raised by the Public Service Commission, right? That accountability, yes, begins with steps, but it must be towards a certain end. You can't have suspensions in perpetuity. That almost defeats the whole purpose behind suspensions. So I'll take your calls on that on 086 000 2032. That's 086 000 2032. And on the WhatsApp voice note line 0614 104 107. The other question, of course, is does it have to come with full pay and full benefits, right? Does it have to come with full pay and full benefits? Well, moving on from that story then into this, a tragic road rage incident in Emmarentia, putting the spotlight on the deadly consequences of anger behind the wheel. What began as a confrontation last weekend ended in gunfire, leaving one man dead, another injured, and their children traumatized. Now, there are millions of firearms circulating in the country under laws including the Firearms Control Act. Dr. Sheetal Bula is the senior lecturer at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, or the University of Zululand, I should say, and director of Stella Maths Durban. Dr. Bula, good morning to you. Thank you for your time. It's quite concerning that we saw an incident of road rage like we did in Emmarentia. When you look at it, what are the steps that we can take in terms of tighter, better control around the use of firearms? Dr. Bula? All right, it looks like we're having an issue connecting to Dr. Bula there. We will try to get her back up on a better or even a different line. Let's take a short break. In the meantime, I will be back with your calls. And please indulge me. The question I asked in line with the closing reflections of Professor Thuli Madonsela. She says that one of the things we need to do is to center the preamble of the country, that should be the starting point for government, for municipal officials, for all of us, because it points us to equality, but also what we have promised ourselves in our Constitution. The opening line of the preamble of the Constitution. Please, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, we buy cars. How does it work if I want to sell my car?
We'll drive to your place. You can visit our pods. Even if you don't have space, then at the mall in a parking lot, we've got lots of depots all across the land. Contact We Buy Cars. You're in safe hands. Safe hands.
Wow, that's great.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
The Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, Preamble. We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who have suffered for justice and freedom in our land, and respect those who have worked hard to build and develop our country. Thank you, Cathy. This is Balesa from Cape Town.
Hey, good morning, Casey. Hey, you got me flat-footed this morning. But I think the preamble says something about we, the people of South Africa, and recognizing the injustice of the past. From there, it talks about land and justice, blah, blah, blah. This is Anonymous from the Northwest.
The National Briefing on SAfm. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9.
Thank you for those WhatsApp voice notes. I like those that you've already sent through. We, the people of South Africa, blah, 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 land somewhere in there. Balisa, well done. You did so well. And it didn't sound like you were reading. I hope you were not reading. It sounded like you knew it. You were speaking with such conviction. I was convinced that this is somebody who knows the country's constitution. Let's see if you can do better than Balisa. She's the benchmark this morning. Let me go to the phone lines. Dumelo, you're in Postmansburg. Good morning.
Good morning, Cathy, and good morning to SAfm listeners. Cathy, I don't know. Maybe you might correct me. The National Police Commissioner, Fanny Masemola, is suspended. He's placed on precautionary suspension as a result of contravening the Public Finance Management Act, right? Is that so?
Yes.
So, but I'm beginning to understand his replacement because of the Commissioner Puleng. I think it's in Pande. She's the Chief Financial Officer for the South African Police Services. But ain't she the one who's supposed to be in the dock as well because of this transactions that took place? They took place under her stewardship.
So, Dumelo, I don't know if you heard the interview we did with the acting Police Minister, Feroz Kachalia, because he also pointed out to the fact that, in fact, she was the one that raised the alarm bells over that contract. What we know is that in 2025, she submitted an audit report to Fanny Masemola, and that particular audit report, she said that there was evidence of procurement irregularities that were observed in that bid. She then went on to say that the bid will be subjected to further forensic investigation with a view of pursuing a criminal investigation against the supplier. So that was the report that she issued to Fanny Masemola already in 2025. And that reporting there took place by News 24. Yes.
Okay. My last parting shot, Cathy, before I let you go. I think it was immature for President Ramaphosa to suspend the National Commissioner because I'm of the view that the National Police Commissioner was not part of the problem. And if I am right, then we'll never get to the bottom of the rot in South Africa because of every time someone tries to do something about it, that person is placed on precautionary suspension. So how many suspensions are we going to see until that incumbent minister or that incumbent commissioner deals with the problem?
All right, Tumelo, that's your view. Thanks for calling in. Tumelo out in Postmansburg. Okay, I also have on the line. It says here, Dr. Motsoaledi. I'm assuming this is the Dr. Motsoaledi, the health minister. Dr. Motsoaledi, good morning. You also want to weigh in as one of our listeners. Welcome.
Yes, Cathy. Good morning. How are you?
Go for it.
I am definitely one of your listeners. Almost every day, if I happen to have time. Yeah, I want to weigh in on the issue raised by Mr. Ruben Maleka. Firstly, because his right is a problem, and I think the problem is the manner in which the law has been fashioned. That when people get suspended, they get suspended with full pay. That is the problem that we're all reckoning with. But I also want him to be fair and honest and mention both sides of the story, because they, as unions, also play a part, Katie, in this issue of lengthening of suspensions of people. They really play a part. And PSA, I want to be very direct. When I was in Home Affairs, there was a lady who was posted to our embassy in Namibia. Remember, in every embassy, we put a Home Affairs official there for the issues of visas and all that. That lady was selling visas to Pakistani nationals to come into South Africa via Nairobi. And we were tipped off by Kenya about that. The people who she was selling visas to did not even have to travel from Namibia. They just packed the passports in a box, send them to her in Namibia. She inserts a visa, send them back to Pakistan, and they take it and come to South Africa until, by the time we caught them, we could trace 100 visas that were issued in that way. So we had to charge that lady. This is what the PSA did. They made sure that that hearing never takes place. Every time we sent officials to Namibia with taxpayers' money, they come with an excuse. Either a doctor's letter of a union representative who could not make it, or a union representative who didn't have the money to fly to Namibia, or the lady herself who is sick. It went on and on and on, Casey, until I said, no, this is too much now. I said, write to the PSA, tell them the hearing is taking place on such and such a day in Namibia, and whether they are there or she's not there, the hearing goes on. And that's what happened. Even after that letter, PSA never pitched up, the lady never pitched up. Then the hearing went on, and we fired them. Hey. And we submitted the documents to the Hawks for a criminal investigation. And unfortunately, when the Hawks were ready to arrest her the night before she died, we don't know how, but I'm just mentioning that as a fact. The second one, by the PSA also, was a lady who was given citizenship to wealthy Zimbabweans wrongly, fraudulently. We charged her, we put her on suspension, unfortunately on full pay as the law requires. I can tell you, even when I left Home Affairs, that case was not over. She was coming because she had money. I mean, they were paying her lots of money. She came with 3 senior counsels, and every time they asked for a postponement, either one of the senior counsels has got a case somewhere in South Africa and is going to be away for 6 months, so the hearing can't take place for 6 months. It went on and on. So all I'm saying, Katie, Ruben Maleka must be honest when she deals with this matter. Because when you deal with a matter that is a problem for the country, you have to become honest so that we get a solution. That's all I wanted to say, Keith.
Minister Motsoaledi, thank you for that contribution there. Calling out, I guess, to an extent, the unions themselves, and in this instance, the Public Service Association, for being part of the problem when it concerns these ongoing, never-ending suspensions. Can never predict what's going to happen on morning radio.
Morning, Cathy. Stelo here in Johannesburg. The Constitution opening speaks about we the people united in our diversity. But that is beyond the point. Thuli Madonsela speaks about everything else, and everybody speaks about everything else except the primary requirement, returning the land to its rightful owners. South Africans were land dispossessed. That's what the people should be looking towards. This equality is just a farce before we talk about land redistribution, land returned back to its rightful owners. People are squashed in squatter camps, informal settlements, and those that took the land still enjoy the benefits of having large amounts of land, even selling it now to property developers at billions and billions. This is not fair. There's no equity there. That's my view. Thanks. Have a good day.
Good morning, I'm Anne Musa. In the headlines, residents of Kwadukuza are this morning expected to protest outside a local magistrate's court in the north of Durban, where 3 suspects are said to appear. The 3 people are accused of kidnapping and killing 7 members of one family. The Boksburg Magistrates Court will this morning rule in the bail application of suspended Ekurhuleni Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Julius Mkwanazi and the City of Ekurhuleni manager Kagiso Lerutla, and the suspended Tshwane Metro Police Department Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini is this morning set to return to testify before the Matlanga Commission of Inquiry. I'll have details on these and other stories at 9.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
If you're heading out of Joburg through towards the Davyton side, there has been a crash around Pitfontein. A little bit of a slowdown on that section of the N12 this morning. N3 North still heavily jammed from Elands up in towards Van Buren. The Mike 1 from Ormonde, Gold Reef City side through Braamfontein, and then the M23 from Joe Slovo. Still a lot of pressure for Friday around that Crown interchange area as well. A couple of collisions taking forever to clear up this morning. One on the M1 South at Midrand's New Road. Traffic out of Pretoria remains slow from about SAMRAM, and that crash on the N14 going into Pretoria at Jean Avenue still causing big backlogs. N14 Krugersdorp Highway and the N1 through Brockville on that section of the N14. A crash on the R21 southbound at Monument Park, still causing some slight delays there as well. Durban's N2 North has eased up through Umgeni Road, Spaghetti Junction side. That's good. It was really badly backed up this morning, but if you're on your way to the airport, doesn't look too bad. A little bit of traffic up into Gateway, but not what it can be. No lane switch yet, but it is imminent. You've still got the normal flow between Keyridge and Cliffdale. Once those lane closure changes go in, it'll also close the ramp from Peacevale onto the N3 South. There'll be nothing to on-ramp to, so if you're normally on-ramp at Peacevale, you have to go up to Hammersdale. Just keep that in mind. And Cape Town, a bit of pressure at the hospital bed. The N2 backing up from Langa side, so that's looking busy. And the R300 North being held into a crash scene at Bottler Ray Road, Brackenfell side. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
This is SAfm Sport with Zai Khan.
Zaikan, everybody is showing their true colors going into the Soweto derby. You know what my colors are, Zai, and I know what your colors are too.
What? Green and gold? Because we support that color? I don't know. But
I love that answer. You can never go wrong with the green and gold.
Ooh, yeah, Cathy, I'm telling you. But listen, the battle lines are drawn. Let's go into the logistics when it comes to the fans now that will be heading to the Soweto Derby on Sunday at FNB Stadium. They're urged to plan ahead, with organizers confirming gates will be open early, and that's to manage the expected capacity crowd. Supporters are encouraged to use public transport, including park and ride facilities, to ease congestion, while strict security measures will be in place. Kickoff is scheduled for 3:30, with authorities emphasizing safety as well as early arrival to avoid last-minute delays in what is one of the biggest fixtures of the local football calendar. And you can catch the action live on SABC Sport. We'll start our build-up from around 2:30. In the meantime, we've got plenty of news with regards to Kaizer Chiefs and their coach. Well, he's saying that his side is in a much better space heading into this weekend's Soweto Derby after a tough defeat earlier in the season. He believes the mindset has sifted with the experience of big rivalries back home in Tunisia, and he knows exactly what the occasion demands. Orlando Pirates this weekend, they have midfielder Salelo Rasabocha. After nearly a year out with a serious knee injury, he's opened up on the mental battle and the support behind the scenes. And he knows that the Soweto derby is firmly in sight and it's all about getting the job done. Let's go to rugby. The Bulls are banking on strong leadership as they push for a URC playoff spot. Coach Johan Ackerman has praised captain Marcel Coetzee after his standout performance in their 47-7 win over the Dragons, saying his work rate and influence lifted the team when it mattered most. The Bulls are currently 8th on the log, and a win over the Scarlets in Wales this weekend will be crucial in their bid to secure a quarter-final place. Meanwhile, the Lions have a golden opportunity to secure a place in the United Rugby Championship playoffs this weekend. They host Connacht at Ellis Park on Saturday. Knowing that a win will seal their spot in the top 8, the Joburg outfit have won 5 straight home games but face a Connacht side that arrives on a 6-match winning streak. And that's your sport on the National Briefing. Check back to SAFM around 12:30. John Hediker will bring you more. I'm Sai Khan.
Hey, we buy cars. How does it work if I want to sell my car?
We'll drive to your place. You can visit our pods. Even if you don't have space, then at the mall in a parking lot, we've got lots of depots all across the land. Contact We Buy Cars. You're in safe hands. Safe hands.
Wow, that's great.
We Buy Cars, the easiest way to sell your car by far.
You are listening to the National Briefing with Cathy Mohlahlana. The National Briefing on SAFM. Weekday mornings from 6 to 9. Top Sport with Michael Abramson.
Banyana completing their friendlies against Algeria with a 2-0 success. They won 1-0 the other day in KZN, and today they won by 2-0. Idiski journalist Letabo Khanyaho, Coach Des and the rest of the coaching staff got out of this match. Were Algeria tough enough opposition to prepare South Africa for the challenges ahead at WAFCON?
I do believe they were a good opponent, and even the rankings not very far from each other. But I think I had more expectations on Algeria. For me, they did not live up to the expectation when you look at the kind of players they have and where they apply their trade as well. Most of them play in Europe and big teams. So I felt a little bit underwhelmed, but also at the same time, perhaps it speaks to Banyana as well that they can, give it a real go as well, against opponents that are star-studded and whatnot.
Top Sport on SAFM. You are listening to the National Briefing with Cathy Mohlahlana.
All right, let's bring you one of the stories that we covered earlier, but we had a bit of a difficulty connecting to our guest. And it's around the road rage incident that we saw in Emmarentia, putting the spotlight on the deadly consequences of anger behind the wheel. But it really points us to, again, the number of firearms that are circulating under laws, including the Firearms Control Act. And the stress people are under, the aggression that also comes with that stress. What then does it mean when we have these weapons so easily accessible to us? Dr. Shital Bula is a senior lecturer at the University of Zululand. Dr. Bula, good morning. Good morning, Dr. Bula.
Morning, can you hear me?
Yes,
Morning.
we can hear you now. I'm not sure what the issue with this line has been. Thank you for your patience. It's been an incredibly concerning story, but I imagine for an academic like you, there are broader questions that this moment would have us deal with.
Absolutely. And I think we've also got to always conceptualize in terms of time of where we are at in the progression of a South African society and in our progression to cohesiveness. And how does violence, stress, daily anger, all of those aspects impact our behavior on a daily basis?
What are the risks that you would want us to pay attention to?
I think, firstly, we need to have a far more stringent system in place. Look, currently, and I quoted this as well, there are approximately 9.7 weapons, licensed weapons per 100 persons in South Africa. And that is a very high number. And that does not account all the unlicensed arms that are illegally people are carrying as well. So that's the first thing. So we've become a very normal society that is very violently inclined. It seems to be very normal now that you are walking around armed with a gun on your leg, under your trouser pants, and so forth, because the law stipulates as long as it's concealed. My question is, why are people so easily triggered to just take that gun and shoot? And why has it become such a dominant form of self-defense is to just take out a gun and shoot, irrespective of what the trigger is, how sensitive the issue is, or the lack of seriousness of it as well? Where is dignity for life? Where is respect for one another?
Those who own firearms need to be licensed as such. Do you think there's something else that needs to be added to that process of licensing that can assist, particularly with the regulation of one's emotions? Because that's what happens when we're triggered, right? We almost lose control of our emotions.
Absolutely. I don't think presently, you go to the license offices, you renew your license annually. It just costs you money. There is no further assessment evaluation. I'm not quite sure of that. The fact that you are not declaring when and how the gun or the weapon is used. Something that's also should be also red flagged is that when you are in a public space, you should then be having another permit or another reason or a legalized regulation as to when to take out that gun, for instance. Secondly, as well, are people really interviewed when you go and apply for a gun license? Is there some sort of personality analysis? Are people also expected to also respond in when they are questioned as to why they want a gun license? What is the motivation behind it? Does their area of location, is it had a historical history of a lot of violence and murder? There needs to be some sort of holistic evaluation and systematic approach put in place before we are, as a nation and as our judicial system, just permits, the firearm license. And we need to look at the criminal law amendment as well.
One also thinks about things like anger management, Dr. Bula, because, in that instance, unfortunately, this firearm was sitting in the cabby hole in the car. And of course, this moment of anger in and of itself, it triggered what was an extreme action on both the parties here.
No, absolutely. And, you've got people that are quite skilled to work with emotional, unhealthy situations. I mean, not long ago, it was reported there are so many social workers that are unemployed. So maybe we need to also divert the skills, look at what skills we have in our country, look at counseling abilities. And people should not just have access to guns, firstly, as easily as that. There should be some sort of monitoring. We need to look at the emotional state of the individual, the purpose of having a licensed individual as well. Are you in a work environment that warrants or needs you to be armed on a daily basis? If it's not the case and you are carrying around one out of sheer fear of insecurity and because, my brother's got a gun, I might as well have one, it's the way to go. And you have no control over your own emotions. You don't even have the logic or the respect as to know when to use it and when not to use it. So I think we need to look at a very interrogative approach with South African citizens before just being very permissive about attaining a gun license.
Doctor.
And also, we need to look at, how are we also now perpetuating and further enhancing a nation that has been filled with conflict, based on a historical past that was uneven, based on historical violence. And how do we go forward? So a lot needs to be investigated going forward.
Dr. Sheetal Bola, let me thank you for your time, Senior Lecturer at the University of Zululand.
Let's have the conversation. WhatsApp voice notes on 0614 104 107.
Oh, Kathy, it's Lusasen here, KZN. I think your guest here is oversimplifying the matter. Because in issues of the suspension, the people who is being suspended has rights. It's in the process of those rights being realized that the delay gets into the way.
Good morning, Sis Katie. It's nice to hear the whole minister calling the radio, Sis Katie. I heard Mr. Mohlahlana saying he's your listener every day. I'm also your listener, Sis Katie, all the way from Bokono Buphirima, Mara sister. And you can phone Gereta Fela sister. Gereta the opinion of Tabacho. Understand that. Thank you, Sis Katie. You made my day. Mr. Mohlahlana call you this morning via Star Katie. Thank you so much, my sister. Lenaka Horeta, Mobukonu Buphirima, Kamostahole. Bokono Buphirima, Sis Katie. This is Olebokhele Kitty. Thank you very much.
Morning, Cathy. Morning, SAfm listeners. Farewell to Mr. Kiswater. But I heard him saying he'll be coming soon and in the public sector. I hope they give him that chief procurement officer role so that, everything can be now bared and sorted out in our procurement system in South Africa. See from Bloemfontein.
This is Cathy Mohlahlana on the National Briefing.
Yeah, look, if anybody would have the capability of cleaning up corruption in procurement, I think that's a task Edward Kisweta could well be up for. Let me go to the phone lines. Anonymous, you're in Durban. Good morning.
Good morning, Katie, and good morning to the listeners.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I heard the Premier was talking to you this morning and talking to you as if he was at the march that started last week on Tuesday.
The Premier of KZN you're talking about?
Yes, I'm talking about the Premier of KZN, which is Tamintuli.
Yes.
Yeah, he said there were no violence and these people were not, the march was not violent. According to us who were there from the start of this thing, those people were violent, and they were not even asking. They were not even trying to see if your papers you are compliant or you are not compliant. As long as you are foreigner, you must close the shop. Why do we let that thing happen? Are we not going to visit other countries as South Africans? That is my question, because I ask myself, is the Premier promoting this? Because the same thing is happening in Escort today, whereby it's led by the mayor of that town. But I'm happy that it's being led by the mayor. But the Premier, he's talking as if he was there on the ground. Even this Jacinta, he's been talking all over the media and social media. I think she only attended twice, and if not 3 times. Most of the time, she's not there to calm down this march and march these things, people.
So, Anonymous, when you say the mayor is leading the protest, is this alongside March and March as well?
No, this is not alongside March and March. This is it's his own thing, but it's the same thing that was happening in Durban. But it's not being led by March and March.
And what is the mayor of Escort? What is he saying the protest is about?
He's saying the foreigners must go.
Really?
Yes, I can share you the poster.
Please share those posters for us on the WhatsApp line, okay?
Because even the mayor saying those people were not violent. We have videos, we have recordings of them chasing people away from their shops.
Yeah. All right. Anonymous, such an important call that you've put through. The number to use 0614 104 107. That's our WhatsApp number. For anybody else that has more information on these protests, please get in touch with us. We know that the plan here is to continue the protests and also have them take place in other parts of the country. They've stated that the target next is Gauteng, building up to what would be a 4th of May national shutdown. is part of what the protesters have stated. All right, let me do this. I see more of your calls. I will take them. First, let me touch in with Rob with the latest traffic.
SAfm, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Yeah, thanks, Cathy. Just a reminder for motorists who may be travelling longer distance this weekend out on the N12 down through the northwest. The N12 westbound is closed at Stilfontein. There's a big sinkhole that opened up, and a couple of others started to open after that. So the N12 westbound at Stilfontein is closed. If you're on your way from Potch down to Klerksdorp, you have to come off, and you'll see the delights of sort of the central Stilfontein area as you have to divert off the N12 and go round the closure section and then back on the other side. Joburg crash on the Mike 1 North near Carr Street. So very heavy getting through the Crown. The Mike 1 from Boyson's, M2 from Joe Slovo. Both of those routes heavily backed up. N3 North this morning has a breakdown just past the delineators at Heldenace up towards Van Buren. So from Milan's interchange up into Bedford View staying heavy. R24 coming in from the Edenvale side through towards the N12 merge. That's a bit slow and sluggish. And the N14 crash northbound towards Pretoria before Jean Avenue, still backlogging traffic through Brockfontein interchange. Quite a big crash that, and quite a massive backlog of traffic as well. The N3 Key Ridge Cliffdale flowing normally, nothing to report in there at this stage. And then Cape Town crash on the R300 going north at Bottler Ray Road still there. That's quite slow as you come up from Front Ribbick Road into that, and just off the highway a lot of pressure around some roadworks on LaBelle and Strand roads in that sort of local Stickland area. Rob Byrne, SAfm Traffic.
Call SAfm now on 086 000 2032.
You're listening to the National Briefing. It's 8:51. Yeah, quite a lot has happened on the show this morning, and I see many of you wanting to touch on the various aspects. In fact, let's just add to this issue that was raised by one of our callers with regard to the protests that have been taking place in the KZN, particularly in the eThekwini CBD, and the interview we had with the Premier earlier on this morning.
Morning, Cathy. Morning, South Africa. The issue of migrants, legally or illegally, it's a thorn in the South African people. We are contesting for few resources. It's a fact. That's a fact. Few resources. So there's no way that there cannot be conflict. So we can blame the Home Affairs, we can blame everybody, but it has become a political hot potato, which is spearheaded by the EFF and Malema in particular, at the expense of South Africans. Major from Katem.
News update and
hi, good morning, Sis Kate. I've got a feeling that the Premier has just come on radio as the spokesperson of these vigilantism groups, because now we also have relatives that are South Africans that were chased away the first day of this march protests, and it seems like he's justifying everything, and we need proper leadership, not these vigilantism, and a Premier that will support this type of madness.
All right, let me go to Elands Park. Bongani, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Cathy. I'm tempted to speak about this thing of foreign nationals and the rule of law in South Africa. I think, Cathy, sometimes we are being unfair to ourselves also. I've been to three different countries, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and Botswana. There's a rule of law. If you are a foreign national, you are a visitor there, you know your space. But here in South Africa, I think people are doing things that are not even supposed to be done by people who are undocumented here. I'm not saying I'm against any foreign nationals coming to South Africa, but they must abide by the laws of South Africa. And people shouldn't come here undocumented and do as they please. Our children are being dragged every day. They are like zombies when you see them on the street. But my comment that I wanted to make actually is about the former president of Zambia. I heard Bonagele saying this morning that the family actually doesn't respect the late president. I want to put another narrative. Doesn't he see it as the government of Zambia that doesn't respect the wishes of Mr. Lunga and the family? Because if I die, I think the people that must make a decision should be my family. Whether I've decided anything that I've decided, but make a decision. At the end of the day, the former president made a decision that he wants to be buried in South Africa, and the family is supporting that. No government should fight against the family for that in that instance.
Yeah, it's just so unfortunate, Bongani, that it's gone on for so long. In 2 months' time, it will be a year. It's unbelievable that there just has not been some form of resolution. But I mean, I'm inclined to agree with you. You know, the idea that the state, regardless of whatever position you may have occupied, should be the one that has a final say. They are not the ones that are closest to you. So I lean more towards what you are saying in this call, Bongani, than Bonakela's point earlier on in the show.
Built in Mzansi on the National Briefing.
We're getting ready to wrap up the show, and as we always do, we bring you Built in Mzansi. Today, a Soweto-born entrepreneur has built a mobile app that detects sewage blockages and missing manhole covers and routes the report straight to municipalities. PrevLeak uses the Internet of Things to find the fault before the overflow does. Thulani Khumalo is the founder of Technological Plumbing Solutions. He joins us on the line. Thulani, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. Firstly, where did this idea come from?
Oh, thank you so much, Ma'am Cathy. Good morning to you and the listeners. It comes from where I was born, Soweto at Ekasi. I'm a township born and raised at Soweto, and we've been facing challenges in many spheres of our lives. I'm just someone who's very creative and saw a problem that affected me directly. So to a point that I then did some research and tried to not complain and try to find a solution towards a problem.
It's a solution that many municipalities in our country needs. What has been the take-up of it? So how many municipalities are using it today?
Oh, yes. We currently just completed our first ever pilot, very successful pilot with Johannesburg Water. And the plans are in place on their side to roll it out. We are just excited to have delivered a solution that will have impact and will contribute to the society at large. And it's all thanks to the funding by the state made available to us to literally reach out and be able to achieve such great milestones.
Thulani, explain how the technology works to us.
Oh, yes. The technology uses hardware, which is a polymer-based manhole cover. And then that manhole cover is fitted with an IoT device. Practically, you have your sewer line, infrastructure sewer line, being able to communicate with you and giving you data analysis of the frequencies of overflows, tampering, and the potential theft that might happen. This is very crucial to have because you are dealing with an infrastructure that is so large and so dilapidated. It needs proper maintenance and management. So the technology offers that platform whereby it makes it efficient, easy to operate, and saves the cost in operational fees, in maintenance fees of your infrastructure. A well-maintained infrastructure has less occurrences of blockages.
Thulani, there'll be young people listening to you today with great ideas but no capital, what's the one thing you could say to them briefly this morning that you believe made a difference for you?
Is to firstly knock on doors. There's TIA, Technology Innovation Agency, there's the Innovation Hub. There are many government funding agencies in place and willing to help and willing to take you on a journey. Entrepreneurship is very hard. I'm not yet going to claim that title yet because it's a very difficult journey. I believe, yes, I'm an inventor. Having achieved a successful pilot and having proven a product on that base, it's a journey that you learn, but you will enjoy it as you do, and it's in the learning that everyone can enjoy, can learn and grow and be entrepreneurs.
Thulani Khumalo, the founder of Technological Plumbing Solutions. You just have to think about the number of young children that die in manholes simply because they're not covered in many of our township and rural areas, and the kind of solution then that this is then to those kind of problems. That's where we come to the end of the national briefing for this week. We'll be back with you again next week, Monday. It's Freedom Day on Monday, so it's a public holiday. But we'll be here hoping you'll join us with the honor and the privilege of your company. Up next, the Daily Discourse with Joanne Joseph. Have yourselves a lovely weekend and enjoy the Soweto Derby.
In our top stories, suspects linked to KZN family killing to appear in court, and Bellarmine Mugabe and his co-accused to be sentenced. Good morning. Residents of Kwadukuza are this morning expected to protest outside a local magistrates' court in the north of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal, where 3 suspects are set to appear. The 3 people are accused of kidnapping